Welcome, everybody. As people are coming in, I'll just give it a couple of minutes. Happy Mother's Day to all. Thank you for joining us for a virtual brunch with Juliet Grames and special guest Linda Grames today. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. I just want to do a couple of quick Zoom housekeeping details before we get started. So you are all muted. You'll remain muted throughout the duration of the event. Please ask your questions in the chat box function of your Zoom screen. We'll get to as many as we can, and someone's monitoring those for us. So we'll get to all of them, hopefully. For optimal viewing, you want to use the Zoom view functions in the top right corner of your screen. Select speaker view so that Julia and Linda will be highlighted on your screen. If at any time Zoom falters, drops out, just click the link again that you were sent and we'll readmit you right back in. You know, technical difficulties in these weird times. And don't forget, purchase a copy of the 7 or 8 Deaths of Stella Fortuna at rjjulia.com. We'll have the links in the chat box for you. And not only did Juliet signed book plates for us, she also has exclusive recipe booklets.
Right here.
There they are, yeah.
Julia is nice enough to send you a copy of this if you buy a paperback from them. Sorry.
While supplies last. So get your book, your signed book plate, and your recipe booklet. All right, let's get on with it. So my name is Erica. I'm the event manager at RJ Julia's. Pleased to be able to actually host this event today as well. I've worked with Juliet over the past couple years, and when she hatched this incredible plan to celebrate all things motherly, grandmotherly, sisterly, friendly on Mother's Day, I jumped at the chance. What better way to celebrate family, especially our female members, than with Stella's incredible story. Juliet wrote the novel based on her own family history, her own grandmother's story from Calabria, Italy to Hartford, Connecticut, and many places in between. While a fictional story and sometimes unimaginable things happen, the characters are so real, the story's so true, you feel as if you're reading nonfiction, as if it's Juliet's true family history. As I passed the novel on to everyone I know, or tried to, I had to remind myself it's fiction. The 7 or 8 Deaths of Stella Fortuna was released in May of last year. This is the hardcover. It remains my #1 favorite novel of the year. I've put this book in the hands of every person I know. Every single one of my girlfriends that asks, what should I read next? My first answer, have you read Stella? It's got something for everyone. Historical fiction, family saga, Italian history, local Connecticut history, overcoming trauma, hilarity, imagination, realism. It's seriously got something for every reader. And now with the recent release in paperback, I'm just so thrilled to be celebrating this with Juliet. I had the very, very good fortune to meet Juliet at an annual book conference we all attend from the industry. Juliet is as wonderful a person as she is a writer. I was so happy that an author I admired for her work was also admirable as a human being. And I just met her mother, Linda, and I'm so pleased that they're both here to celebrate with us. Juliet, welcome. Let's talk Stella.
Oh, Erica, that was the nicest introduction ever.
Oh, you deserve it.
Well, we were talking about this and we decided there was actually really only one appropriate way to kick off this event. Right? Just, there's only one.
Yeah.
We are going to sing the Dead Donkey song. So.
Oh boy.
This song is called Ucciu Ucciu Bello. It's a Calabrese folk song known as My Beautiful Donkey, but we call it the Dead Donkey song. Without further ado, my mother here is going to assist me.
Yep.
Janjitilu, Janjitilu.
Cry for him, cry for him.
Kimortu juju miu.
Because my donkey is dead.
Kosia bulutu diu.
This is what God wanted.
Kunja bimuafa.
What are you gonna do?
Kuragyuki pachiva.
When he brayed,
Baravinu tenori.
he sounded like a tenor.
Chuchu bellu distu cori, como ti posso amar. Quando la faceva, chuchu bellu distu cori, como ti posso amar.
Woohoo!
We know we had requests. We're becoming known as a musical act. So
How much better than the Italian Christmas donkey?
and so we want to raise a glass to all of everyone who joins us right now. Just so you know, this is a framboise, very low alcohol, which is appropriate for us. So but we hope that you're toasting with whatever you are. We're so happy you're spending Mother's Day with us. Here, salud.
All mothers.
All mothers of all shapes
Everywhere.
and sizes.
I've got coffee. Salud.
Perfect.
Salud.
Now, here's the thing you should know about Mother's Day in the Casano family. It's not really your Hallmark holiday where you celebrate your mom. It's much more inclusive.
Yeah.
So for example, you will see my adult uncles will wish each other happy Mother's Day. So we think of Mother's Day more as a state of mind, right? Whether you have, whether you're with your mom and you want to celebrate her, or you're missing your mom, or you have a troubled mother relationship. The fact is, everyone has a mother situation and we're all in it together, just like COVID. So thank you for being in this together with us. And we want to celebrate all these aspects of motherhood today. So first I want to say, my mom's Casano family, in all these Italians, we usually get together on Mother's Day. Obviously this year we can't do that. But also it's the first year, well, it's the second year that we don't have the two great matriarchs who inspired Stella Fortuna, my mother's mother and her sister, my Aunt Con. And Aunt Con in particular, I want to give a shout out to her memory, because she never got to be a biological mother to anyone herself. So she basically made up for it by being a mom to everyone. And we'd like to share a photo with you. We're going to do a slideshow today, and bear with us because we have some tech difficulties. I'm not so great at this. I'm going to screen share, but I hope that you can all see. This here is my grandmother.
With my brother Sammy.
Yeah, wasn't she a pretty lady? Amazing. Yeah. And she was the inspiration for Stella. And here we've got her. This is her sister Aunt Con.
Yeah.
So Aunt Con, larger than life personality.
Like her Sicilian zucchinis.
Just like her Sicilian zucchinis, larger than life. I think the most common question that I get on tour with Stella has been, what is it?
Yep. Are these real people?
Are these real? What's real and what's fiction? Yeah. And the thing is that the book it's a novel. It's completely fiction, except Auntie Tina. I could not have made that person up. That is my Aunt Con.
Yeah.
I mean, her character was just too big to make it. So what do you think? You read the book in many drafts.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of stories got left on the cutting room floor.
A lot.
But
what's 200 pages?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, big personality. But what would you like them to know about Aunt Con that they didn't get to read in Auntie Tina?
Okay, I will tell you. We started calling her Concetta Suetta, like sweat. Concetta Suetta when Juliet was about 4 or 5, and I was still home. I wasn't back to work. Aunt Con would come over to help clean. And this woman, when I say clean, we called her the White Tornado. She would go from room to room, sweep through that house. In a few hours, everything was sparkling clean. Honest, you could eat off the floors. But anyway, this one day, she was working so hard, and little Juliet said, Auntie Connie, you work so hard. Can't you sit down for 5 minutes? And Aunt Connie, it was not a concept to her. Sit down, rest, what? so I said, oh, should we have a little contest? Yes, Juliet says. Okay. We put a chair in the middle of the kitchen floor, this old linoleum floor in our 1860 house in Collinsville, Connecticut. And we said, Ankan, she's wearing her apron, always an apron, you know, the full body one. Ankan, sit in this chair. What? Sit in the chair. Juliet wants you to sit in the chair. Why? Okay, we take all her products away from her, and she sits in the chair in the middle of the room. Juliet says, Auntie Connie, we're going to put the little kitchen timer on. We want you to sit for 5 minutes. Oh, okay. So we do the timer. Ankan sits in the chair. After about the second minute, sweat at the top of, you know, with the hairline, sweat just starts beading on the upper lip.
So stressful
She
to
was
have to sit
so
still.
stressed out. Oh my God, she's just thinking about all the things she should be doing. Oh my God. So she lasted the 5 minutes, but from that, Conchetta sweat.
Conchetta Sweat.
Well deserved, well deserved.
I mean, she was just amazing. She was such an amazing, I mean, all the, you know, typical Italian grandma stuff, the cooking and the recipes and the cookie. Let's see what we've got here. I think I've got some photos of, oh, you know what? I wanted to talk about another character in the book who I thought that people would like to see. So here we have a photo of my great-grandparents, and in the middle is my grandmother's older sister. I don't want to spoil the book for you, but if you've read the book, you know a little story about that. But this was the real historical inspiration.
Yes.
But here's the thing. I never knew my great-grandmother. Her name really was Assunta. So in the novel, I invented a fictional character named Assunta. But Ma, would you tell them a little bit about your great-grandma? Oh, here she is. Here she is.
Oh, my beautiful grandma. That's my brother, John. He's my older brother. Okay, so grandma was a beautiful, beautiful lady. Oh my God. And funny. She was a comedian. I mean, just naturally. First, I'll tell you about Sunday dinners at grandma's house. And everybody called her grandma. She had 16 grandchildren. I was one of them. And all ages. So the aunts and uncles would bring over the kids. My Aunt Connie would cook a lot of the meal, but grandma, when she was able, her younger years, she cooked a lot too. My mother also. But Aunt Con and grandma in the kitchen cooking, the 16 kids running around this little 1,000 square foot house, right? Every room just round and round. And then when it was good weather outside, from our yard to, from grandma's yard to our yard across the street, to Aunt Con's yard also across the street. And grandma would sit like this. I don't know if you can see me, with her hands on her belly like this, which I do now. In her strategic spot was a chair in the kitchen so she could keep an eye on what was going on at the stove, but close enough to the dining room door because that's where all the adults were. So she could hear everything going on there. She could watch the cooking going on and the kids going in and out the door. They had to go past her to do that with all their commotion and chaos. And she loved it. She loved it. She loved her family, and she was part of everything. Wanted to be part of everything. Can I tell another?
I want, yeah.
Okay. So grandma did not speak a word of English ever, and didn't understand English, but toward the end of her life, when she was really, she had rheumatoid arthritis. And so she had to sit a lot, and she would sit by her window, her big bay window, which she loved, looking out to see what was happening on the street. Her TV was right there, right in front of her. So she started watching these shows at night, and I would come over during high school and college from across the street. I would come over and sit with her, and she would entertain me by looking at these shows. Now there was Sonny and Cher, Grand Ole Opry, and Tony, Orlando, and Dawn. Those are three that I remember. Hullabaloo also. She made up stories for every character, backstories, who was related to whom, what scandals there were, just everything. And she would turn to me. She'd watch the screen very intently, and then she'd turn to me and say, you know, Linda, did you know this one is married to that one? Oh, and that's the brother. And do you know what they did? And she was hysterical. And
you said she used to do voices.
That's it. That's what I was going to tell you. So this was her interpreting what she saw on the screen. what she did with her imagination and her voices, she had a gift of imitating people. She worked inside a tobacco factory in Hartford, Connecticut, till she was almost 70. And so as she got older and it was harder for her to move, they placed her on a tall stool. She was a short woman. They got her up on this stool, and her job was to sort these great big, rough, very rough tobacco leaves, you know, put them by size and then bundle them. And it got harder and harder for her to do. So other ladies would bring bundles of leaves to her so she could sort, but they had to do it on the sly. Those ladies always got goodies.
Bribes.
No, goodies. And homemade by grandma. And also her boss. She made sure that the boss was well taken care of because she loved her job and she loved being among these other women. And these were women from a lot of Italians, but they were Polish and Russian and whatever. And grandma would come home and tell me the story of her day. And she would imitate each of these women, was so distinct because she changed her voice for each character to match each character. And so it was like listening to a radio show. You know, I loved these stories.
A natural storyteller.
Natural storyteller.
Like your mom.
Like my mother.
Like you.
Nah, not so much, but my mother for sure, and my grandmother definitely. Yeah.
I think that's like storytelling and food are two themes in our family. And I forgot, we invited you all to brunch and you don't see any food here. So I promised I would explain what happened. My poor husband made this beautiful two frittatas, Italian themed. One had potato and Italian sausage in it. The other had red pepper and goat cheese. And it was ready early and we were hungry. So we carefully cut pieces to show to you. And then we ate our portions and then we ate the sample portions that we were supposed to show you. So they're gone, but they were really good.
Yeah.
We do have one thing to show you. This is credit my sister who's on this Italian compound with us. This is a focaccia she made. It's a little hard to see, I know, but she decorated it. She made a design of flowers with tomatoes and peppers. It's amazing. So as soon as we're off the phone, we're going to eat the focaccia. Very lustily eat this focaccia. But yeah, I mean, you know, so there you go. Storytelling and food. So I wanted to share with the people this. Can you all see this is Assunta on the beach? Yeah. And I remember hearing this story about how she would bring pasta to the beach and feed you all and sand, you know, there would be sand everywhere, but she'd be putting that pasta in that baby's mouth. And, just want to fast forward 50 years or so to this photo. Italian Grandma Achievement Unlocked. This is my mother here with her grandbaby.
Oh yeah.
And they are eating pasta on the beach.
No,
that's homemade pasta on the beach right there. So yeah.
With broccoli. It had broccoli.
They did have broccoli on it. It was healthy homemade pasta on the beach.
That Uncle Jeff made.
Yes, it's true. Uncle Jeff made that. Teach your men to cook. And you never have to cook for yourself. This is a lesson in Stella's life, and it's a lesson in our lives, and we're very happy with it.
Yep.
I did also want to share one of my favorite Mother's Day memories. Was from 2016, May of 2016.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I've told you all about Aunt Con and how she was really kind of the bastion of our family. And so we had a traumatic experience. That's Aunt Con. Okay, so she's 94 years old there. That's my brother with her. That's her basement kitchen. Yeah. And you can see she's cooked about 800 of these white cookies. These were for weddings or showers or whatnot.
That was only one cookie. Then she made probably 5 others.
Right. Okay. So my understanding of a bridal shower is that you basically, the reason you have a bridal shower is so that you can have a table full of Aunt Con's cookies, or 2 tables,
several
tables. I didn't know there was another reason to have a bridal shower. And then I got engaged in 2015, and that was the year that Aunt Con had a stroke, and she had to be in a wheelchair for the next 5 years of her life. We just lost her last year, but she was. Oh, you know, this Concetta Suetta story, the idea of having to sit in a wheelchair and she couldn't cook for people. Oh my God, it was so hard for her. And so we actually debated, maybe we shouldn't even do a bridal shower for me because, you know, it's a tradition in our family and I knew a lot of people wanted it, but we couldn't imagine it without Aunt Con's cookies.
Or buying store-bought?
Store-bought cookies, no way. So luckily we had an adventure together.
Yeah.
It was May of 2016, and I had this is here's my mom and my intrepid bridesmaid Alexis, who came over and spent the entire weekend with us,
Yeah.
trying to figure out if we could recreate Ankan's cookies.
Those are the chocolate cookies.
Those are the chocolate cookies, and we did chocolate cookies and angel wings, and both of the recipes are actually in the cookbook that Erica has.
Yeah.
But we had a tool, and it was this.
Oh.
This was Ankan's secret recipe book.
Yeah.
That my mom realized that she had been keeping on the slide. And you can see that it actually, cooking from it was quite a process, because I've sampled her recipe in the corner here. If you can see this handwriting on the right side, she was writing in, Ankan never had a chance to go to school and learn to read and write the traditional way. So what you have here is this pigeon that she developed herself to record her recipes. It's sort of half Calabrese dialect, mostly written in Italian pronunciation, but with immigrant English intertwined. So you see the second line, Cuchise, that's cookies. That's cookies, right? Yeah. And after that, ripiene, it means filled cookies. So, I mean, the ingredients are like 1 dozzina uova, 1 dozen eggs, half English, half Italian.
Yeah.
The ingredient below that, if you see the 12, this is my favorite thing ever.
I love it.
12 piccoli cucchiarini, that means small spoons.
Yeah.
So teaspoons.
Yeah.
Becchina polvere.
Becchina
polvere.
polvere.
Do you know what that is? Any guesses? That's baking powder. 12 teaspoons of baking powder. Also, just to point out that any recipe should contain 12 teaspoons of baking powder. This was the challenge we faced. Like any recipe starting with, 10 pounds of flour, 16 eggs. I mean, it just like goes from there.
Yeah.
But
very hard to manage.
But thank you, Alexis, for that weekend. It's a sacred memory to me. And believe it or not, we did it.
They were pretty good.
We did it. And Ankan came to the shower and she very grudgingly approved. She took a bite. She goes, these are pretty good.
Pretty good.
And we're like, yes, we did it. The tradition stays alive. So yeah, let me see. We have a lot of people who are far away, who we normally celebrate with, and we're thinking of you, and we want to send shout outs to you. So I'm going to just
so many.
Yeah, we want to say Happy Mother's Day to a few people. First,
Karen and Matt.
This is my Aunt Karen. My mother has a lot of brothers, and their wives have always been a huge part of our Italian family celebration. I don't know how they all got roped into the Casano family, but we thank you, wonderful ladies, for tolerating us and being there. Auntie Karen and Auntie Lisa
and baby
Sammy, we miss you, and we wish we were celebrating with you today, but we're so glad you're on this call right now and that we get to celebrate with you like this. And this is Auntie Gina. Wonderful, wonderful Auntie Gina has joined us today, even though, we wanted to, Auntie Gina actually lost her mom to COVID last weekend. And we just wanted to say that we're so honored to have you as part of our family, and we loved your mom so much. And I hope you don't mind, I'm actually going to share a picture of her now. Here she is. Janet Scavetta and all the Scavetta girls, we love you, and we know, our hearts go out to you. But for any readers of Stella in this audience, you may know our high regard for the Scavetta family, because there's a little tiny call out to them. If you remember the part where Tony ends up coming to America and he's living a wild life and he forgets his family back home, he actually attends the funeral of a man named Rocco Scavetta, and that turns him back on to wanting to be a good family man. It's because I'm so inspired by the Scavetta family and their values, and I wrote them into the book in that way. And COVID has been so terrible for us for so many reasons, and I'm grateful to have you in our lives, and we're thinking of you, and we're so glad that you joined us. So thank you. There she is again, beautiful Janet. But COVID has changed a lot of our lives in a lot of different ways, and not all of them are sad. Meg Meg out there wants to send a call out to her mom. This is her mom. Believe it or not, because of COVID, this is her 16-year-old son who had to leave his school because it had to get cleaned because they had an infection. He ended up going over to his grandma's house on March 12th. And then guess what happened? He couldn't come home. So he and Nana have been living together for the past 2 months. And this is a chance for an 81-year-old woman to spend this much time with her teenage son. It's very unusual. Meg just wants to say how much she loves you and is so happy that you guys get to have this time together.
Can I say something to Matt?
Please.
Matt, write down or record anything your grandmother tells you. Her stories are valuable, and you need to write them down because you won't remember.
And someday you'll write a book about it.
Maybe or a song.
Or a song. And we next we want to have a shout out. Oh, I put this one in myself.
No.
This is my mother-in-law who has not been able to see her grandson for this whole time. And now after much quarantining, we're so happy. My wonderful mother-in-law, Nancy. Love you so much. We're so happy you're here with us. And another silver lining in the COVID epidemic is that, I couldn't do my book tour. The whole thing has been canceled, but because we're doing this virtual event, my 88-year-old grandmother, Patricia Lawfield, on the other side, she's not Italian, but she's been so supportive of my trucking around with these Italians and writing about them. And she's joining us today from Arizona, as are her sisters. Hi, Maggie and Evelyn. We are so happy you can be with us. And this is their mother, Rosalie Hyde. Just a wonderful, I never got to know her myself, but raised her 4 girls through the Depression, made sure that they were all so passionate about their education and about being just fierce, independent women, all wonderful role models. And I'm so grateful. Grandma, I'm specifically grateful to you for instilling in me a need to preserve history and to understand who came before us. And really, you are as responsible for Stella as my Italian grandmother about whom the book was written. So I want to thank you all for being here today. And we're so happy we got to share this Mother's Day with you when we normally don't get to anyway. And we have a couple more shout outs here. Okay. Kathy, hi Kathy. Your daughter Kelly, one of my oldest and dearest friends, wants to send her love to you today, and we want to send our love too. Kathy was like a den mother to our whole clique from high school, and a bunch of girls who are still friends today. And we hope you have a really happy Mother's Day, Kathy. And Alyssa Sweet on the left is saying hi to her mom in Michigan. She thinks you're the bomb. And this, I've only met Alyssa's mom once, very briefly when she was visiting, but Alyssa is such a warm and motherly person herself. When I moved to Rhode Island, she basically introduced me to all of the friends I have now. And I just want to say you raised a real good girl, and I'm so grateful that she's my friend. Thank you all. Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day. Oh.
Pat.
That's beautiful.
Yes, this Pat, who is a really inspiring Italian-American. She's the president of the Connecticut chapter of the National Association of Italian-American Women. This is her mom, Vera Italia. Her name means true Italy. And she emigrated on her own to the United States at age 17. And she managed to raise a huge family that has kept Italian traditions alive. And Pat is thinking of her mom today. And Pat, thank you for sharing this beautiful photo. I love that veil. Wow, it's just like,
I've met Pat twice now, and I'm looking at her mother's face. Pat has her mother's face.
Oh, Pat.
Absolutely.
Beautiful mom.
Absolutely.
Thank you for sharing.
Wow.
And really special call out. I have these 2 ladies joining us from Jevoli in Italy. Thank you both for calling in from so far away. This is Francesca and Marisa. Francesca on the left was such a huge help to me during the research portion of Stella. Without her, the book would not have come together. I was so lucky that she was in the village. She's a native of Yevoli, so she spoke the very particular dialect there, which I could understand but not speak. And she introduced me to her mom, who just also told me so much about her history and origins. And a sneak peek is, I'm so grateful to Francesca for what she gave me during that research time that I've actually named the character in my second book after her. Sorry, Francesca, the secret is out.
Well,
I am working on a second book,
well,
but yeah. So we want to thank and Rena in Yevoli. I think you're on today too. Thank you, and happy Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day to all of you.
Goodness.
So we wanted to say thanks and happy Mother's Day to all those folks and the rest of you. And we thought we'd conclude with just one little story about our time in Calabria. So here's the truth. My mother here had spent much time in her youth in her father's town in Molise, but she'd actually not really spent any time in Calabria, and a total of 2 days. Her entire life.
Yeah.
Now, meanwhile, I had to go over, poor me, for research trips, and I'd spent quite a lot of time there, and I had fallen desperately in love with Calabria, which you'll know if you've read the book. And so in 2017, after I was done writing Stella, but I was researching my second book, I said to my mother, guess what? You're going to Calabria with me. I'm not taking no for an answer. And
Just a minute. Why was I asked to go?
okay. Because I love her and I wanted to spend time with her.
No.
And I wanted to introduce her to the beauties of Calabria.
No.
And I don't know how to drive, so I needed someone to drive me
That's
around.
why I got invited. Thank you very much.
You know, all of those reasons can be true at the same time. Anyway, it was very important to me that she got to see this beautiful land of her heritage.
Yes.
And what did you think of Calabria?
I will never forget. That was the most beautiful 2 weeks. Incredible, incredible people, which I knew anyway. I knew that in my heart. But to see, oh my God, what I did not see in those 2 days, 45 years before. I mean, 45 years wasted. Oh my God.
As soon as she gets home, she's looking up real estate links and
Real
she's sending
estate.
them to me. She's like, you know, we could get this. We just have to refurbish it. It's I mean, just a couple $100,000 if
And
we all pool our money.
Her father's totally on board with that. Oh yes, there will be an Italian compound, a Grames / Cusano / Rotondo compound somewhere in Italy.
Eventually, we had one episode during that trip that has, I think of every day while I'm writing. So I think it wasn't specifically tied into my research, but my mom had a friend named Rose, a dear, dear friend who passed away really young of breast cancer. She was a big part of my life when I was a kid and just the sweetest, most wonderful woman. And her family had come from, I mean, not even a village, like a hamlet of a hamlet, tiny,
San
Miguel, which we knew. And so when we were there on our last day, we decided we were going to try to go to find San Miguel and see if anyone there remembered Rose or her family. And so we were driving, it was me and my mom, and we were, our guide was Luigi. Luigi was the retired postman who I lived with him and his wife my entire research trip there. Wonderful, generous people who put me up and took care of me and drove me around. And so Luigi's really scrappy. He knows everyone. You know, he's a retired postman. He's got all the digits. So he drives us to San Miguel. He parks his car. I think he had to make a phone call or something. He was busy. So my mom and I go walking. There's all there is in this town, couple houses in a row on this street, one bar that people are sitting in front of drinking coffee, because you know a bar in Italy needs coffee. And so we go up, we're a little bit shy. We ask the first person, do you know Rose's family? They're like, no, never heard of them. We ask the next person, did you know Rose? No. Did you know her mom, Vicenzi? No. Did you know Vicenzi? No. No. Okay. So we're disheartened, but our expectations were low.
Yeah.
Anyway, I mean, this is 60 years ago that they emigrated. Wow, who would remember? So we are a little disheartened, and we go back to the car. Luigi's done with his phone call. He hangs up his phone. He says, "What's the matter? Aren't you going to ask?" And we were like, "No, we asked. No one knows." He goes, "What do you mean? What do you mean they don't know?" And we were like, "Yeah, they don't know." And he goes, "No, you ask. You ask until they remember." And then he goes back and he asks the first person, "Do you know Vicenzi?" No. Do you know Vicenzi? No. Do you know Vicenzi? No.
No.
Wait, Vicenzi? Vicentin, do you know Vicentin? Oh yeah, Vicentin, do you know Vicentin? Suddenly everyone remembered Vicentin. And they remembered, we knew it was real because they you what was the story about the triplets?
Well, I was told that Vicentin, Rose's mother, had triplets and that 2 of them died. And I thought, and so one living brother, and I said, wait a minute, that can't be in this little mountain village way up where there are no doctors, no hospitals. That's impossible. You know, she wouldn't have lived through that. So I said, this has to
It's
be
wild to think about it.
Yeah.
I mean, there are no roads, no doctors, no running water.
That's how it clicked.
But they knew. They were like,
oh,
who had the triplets?
Vicentin. The one who had the triplets. It was true.
I think about that every day. I think about that line, ask until they remember. I think that it's just, you know, if you're going to write, it's a great motto to carry with you on a day-to-day basis, because there's one of 2 lessons we get from it. One is that you have to persevere. And if you persevere, you'll get to the truth, right?
Yeah.
Or the other lesson is you have to persevere. And if you persevere, people will get so annoyed that they'll tell you whatever you want to hear in order to get you to shut up. I don't know which is true, but for storytelling, you need a little bit of both, right?
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
So we are going to open up to questions in just a minute, but to close out, we'd like to just sing one more folk song for you. We're not going to translate this time.
No. You only get a little bit.
You only get a little bit, just one verse.
Yeah.
Because we want to try your patience. But this is a song called Calabria Mia. And if you've read the book, it's in the book. So now you know what it sounds like. But it means my Calabrian girl. And it's a song about a man who falls in love with a dark-eyed Calabria's beauty while she's doing her laundry down in the village. And then he steals her handkerchief as a token of his love. And he goes off to the city to study. And when he gets home, he finds that she has married another man and his heart is broken. And it is a love story and it's a beautiful melody.
It is beautiful.
But it's also, I think the reason it's so beloved to the Calabria's American community is because the Calabrizella in the song isn't just a woman, it's Calabria. And it's the place that, you know, our forefathers and foremothers were forced to leave. They were looking for opportunity. And then when they went back, it wasn't there for them anymore. They found they couldn't go back. They had become American. They had to grow beyond their circumstances and things had changed. And so in that way, it's a real love letter to this beautiful, simple place of our hearts, this place we came from, and that we're now too complicated to go back to.
They should go to YouTube and get the whole.
Oh yeah, you should get the whole thing. We're just gonna give you
and the Chuchubello too.
Yeah, well, you know what? We can send you those things. They're good, but okay. So here we go. Ready? Ni natividad l'agua chi lavavi e lumigori si inchiuda muri mentre le pagnala si palambravi Yutarubai lume diumugaturi Calabrizella mia, Calabrizella mia, Calabrizella mia, facciamo amori. Leula, 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 la, sta Calabrizella morire mi fa. Leula, 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 la, sta Calabrizella morire mi fa. Thank you all so much for joining us. Cheers to you. We love you all. Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day. Now, I knew I should have had a box of tissues here to dry my weepy mommy eyes, but I didn't, like a fool. I don't know what I was thinking. I know you too well, Juliet, to know that I was going to make it through this without tearing up a few times. Thank you. Thank you so much. Linda, thank you for sharing your day with us, your daughter with us. And Juliet, we are just so blessed to have this piece of your family history on such a day. It's just, this is wonderful. I'm so happy. I'm like, okay, this is not about me. I gotta stop crying. Okay. So before we get into, some of the questions, there's a couple of good questions, and some of them have been answered. So you knew kind of what was coming, I think. I stole this little game from a colleague at the bookstore. She asks every author, as booksellers in the store, we have to pitch books like fairly quickly. We have to sell our books. What is your 10-second
Oh boy.
for Stella?
Fortuna? Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Wait,
10 seconds.
you think I'd have this memorized by now, right?
Ready? Go.
I'm not brief.
Sisterhood and family secrets ranging from Calabria to Connecticut. Is that enough? Okay.
That's so good. That's so good.
Their sisterhood and family secrets, immigration and the American dream, one woman's tenacious fight against her own fate.
Oh, that's good.
Well put.
That works.
It's like you wrote it. And it's like you're also, an editor and good at this.
Here's the thing about that. Studying how to market and talk about books for 15 years as an editor did me like this much good trying to talk about my own book because it's still really hard.
I totally get that. Yeah, I can imagine. I'm sure it's hard to hype yourself, but that's what we're here for, because you're that good.
Thank you.
So what do you recommend what's your recommended reading? What's on your nightstand? Or what is your specific to COVID reading? What's going good right now?
This is great because I feel like everyone on this video call has already read Stella. We don't need to sell Stella to them.
But we still do.
I think a fantastic Mother's Day book. Unexpected because it's not marketed that way, but it is a book called Light from Other Stars by Erica Swyler.
Weird. I have it here. That's weird.
Beautiful, beautiful book is a story. It's what's a good comp title? It starts on the day the Challenger takes off, and it's about a little girl who really wants to be an astronaut. She's really good at math and science, and her father is a scientist, and he's working on an invention. And I don't want to spoil the book for you, but basically her father gets so caught up in his science that he causes a problem for the entire community they live in. And then the story of this little girl growing up is cut forward to the present or future, where you know that she's an astronaut on an expedition to set up the first space colony. And back and forth, the toggle between these two narratives is her relationship with her mom. And I just think, so the author, Erica Swyler, is an old dear friend of mine. We were actually writing group buddies for like 10 years before our books came out. And then they came out on the same day. Can you believe it? But this book is so beautiful. And Erica has put, it is sci-fi, yes, but she's put so much of her personal energy into the mother-daughter relationship and talking about the difficult thing that happens in this family. Again, I don't want to spoil it. Is so beautifully told. The story of strong women who are both scientists and bakers. That's
nice.
So a great Mother's Day book to share, with your mom or your daughter or your friend. So what about you? What's your recommendation?
Okay, well, mine's going to be very brief. A Gentleman in Moscow, Amor Tolls.
You funny you should mention.
Okay. Well,
funny you should mention.
Yeah. Well, I have the hardcover signed by him, but I'm going to get that. I'm going to get the paperback with the intent of highlighting the many men. Oh,
wow.
Okay.
Well, mine's the paperback, but it is signed. He
wrote me a personal note.
So my mother,
But anyway,
my launch event. This is my launch event in New York. When my book came out, Amor Tolls was generous enough to be my interlocutor. I was a huge fan. I'd never met him. I was a little bit starstruck. So then we had a party afterward, and all of the people adjourned to this bar, and we're having snacks and whatever. And Amor Tolls wasn't there, so I figured he had left as soon as the event was over. So 2 hours into the party, people are starting to drift away. And my mother comes back in the room with Immortals. And Immortals is like, thanks, great party, bye. And I was like, wait, where was he for 2 hours? He was pigeonholing my mother, getting stories about my childhood. I'm like, Mom, don't you at this point in your life, do you not know better than to talk to a writer? Do you know what happens when you talk to a writer?
No, he deserved it. But anyway, this book, for quarantine, this is a supreme book about quarantine, and you will fall in love with the Count. You will never forget him and what he goes through, and how with grace and such wisdom. There's so much wisdom and powerful. It's a very powerful story. Please read it. Yeah.
That's great. You guys, you're very smart. You're very smart readers. You know good stories. I support both of those choices. Knowing now that Erica Swyler was a writing partner of yours, I just want to show, this is the hardcover of Stella.
What I said. That's what I said about, yep.
Can we see do we see some similarities?
Yes. We'll have to talk to our marketing teams.
Now listen, while I love the historical fiction cover, I do love it. I love it. But I loved this cover. It was almost like, I don't know what it is. And then when you realize what it is, it's just intriguing. It's romantic. Anyway, but I'm a sucker for hardcovers. So
I loved it too. And I love my,
beautiful.
The way my editor described it, that the olive branch that's in the background of the wallpaper on the hardcover being the olive branch that can never be extended between Stella and Tina. I was like, you guys, it's so beautiful. I know.
So good. It's so good. All right. So let me look at some of these questions for you guys, because, so what books, yep. How did you decide what and how to fictionalize, and anything in your research that surprised you? It's kind of two questions, but research and what did you decide? So true and not.
For me, the huge insurmountable obstacle of writing this book was I wanted to write about my grandmother. My grandmother had been lobotomized when I was 5 years old. So I knew her, I heard her telling her stories, I heard people telling stories about her, but I barely remember her personality before it was medically altered. And so I tried, for years, I tried to write about her from her perspective, or about her, a closely told story. And it was just like hitting a wall. I couldn't get it. I couldn't get into her psychology or her personality. And no amount of research got me closer. And to be honest, at the end of this process, now the book is out, I can't continue writing it. It's still a mystery to me, and something I think about on a daily basis, who my grandmother really was. So in the end, Stella is imaginary. Stella is a character I created, who I knew things that would happen to her in her life. And I tried to imagine if those things were happening to me, why I would have made the choices I knew she made. And so it was really an act of fictional projection. But Stella is invented. Auntie Tina is completely not invented, because I made that up. But, and in between the writing process, you draft and you have to make things fit. And I really lost hold of what happened in my family, what happened in someone else's family, what's completely invented. I mean, is it fair to say that the 7 or 8 deaths are factual? Yes. Those are factual. Yes, those are factual. My grandmother was very unlucky or lucky, depending on how you look at it. So that was too good to be true. For a story structure, I'm like, well, this is what we're writing. We're going to fill in the blanks. But I mean, the way I glibly answer that question, my shorthand is, it's all in the last paragraph of the text, where Auntie says, when they're in the sauce, in the soup, no one's going to know which meatballs you made. Yeah. Incidentally, is something that my Aunt Con really said to me. Yes, she did. Oh, it doesn't matter, your meatballs aren't so good. No one's going to know which ones are yours when they're eating them. I was like, thanks, fine.
Okay. We have another fan. This was my favorite book of 2019. Has the book been published in Italian?
It has been translated into Italian, and it was supposed to come out in May, but they're delaying it for COVID. So right now it's set for July. I'm not sure what's going to happen. The translation is beautiful. They let me edit it. They let me work with my Calabria friends to fact check and stuff like that. The cover is gorgeous. It's really a beautiful, beautiful package. So
she was supposed to be in Italy.
I was supposed to be in
May.
Italy on tour. We should have been leaving in a few days, actually. So I don't know what's going to happen, but they've done just a beautiful, beautiful job. And you can, if you're looking for the Italian edition, I think you can order it through I Am Books, the Italian American bookstore in Boston. But it's this beautiful hardcover. So when we get it, it's gonna be great.
That's exciting. It'll all come back around. We'll figure this crazy world out soon enough. I'm an optimistic person, so it's hard, but
you know what, though? I have to say, because I've been living in this world of the 20s and 30s in Italy for a long time for research, and now my second book is very much rooted in these remote Calabrian villages and learning about how people lived and thrived with no running water, no electricity, no roads, no doctors. It's like every day was sort of quarantine, and they were tough as hell, and they're really, I've been lucky enough to make some non-engineering friends during this research process, and they keep in touch, and they're just like good spirited advice about simple ways of finding joy in your daily life and sourcing food. And it's really been great. You may have seen behind us, I'm going to tilt the camera a little bit. We actually decided to start a garden. So those are some seedlings back there, and we have a lot. Yep, there we go. And we have a lot more all over the house. Basically every flat surface in the house is covered in seedlings. And as soon as it's not snowing in Connecticut and Rhode Island like it did last night, we're going to put them in the ground. We're going old worlds.
I love it.
That's our inspiration.
I think it's right on. And that's teasing us about your next book. And, we're all so excited about that. So thanks for giving us little hints into what's to come for Juliet. All right. I got time for a couple more. Has anyone optioned the book yet? That is a great question. Oh, they should.
Haven't. Okay, a lot of people say that. Thank you for saying that. It means so much to me. It's also so scary to think about like a thing that you wrote in text being interpreted in another medium. So it's not something that I'm like, where's Hollywood? But everyone who has said, where's Hollywood? Thank you. I'm very flattered.
It would make a beautiful series, and you do have to, like I've heard, I don't know, but you have to basically relinquish control. You don't.
It's true.
A lot of control over it.
I do have, so as it turns out, you guys watch The Sopranos? Some Sopranos fans there?
Duh.
So the actress who plays Christopher's mother in The Sopranos, her name is Marianne Leone. She's a writer as well. And she somehow found a copy of Stella and wrote to me, and she's like, please tell me that I can play the later days of Stella if the movie is made. And I was like, oh, you'd just be perfect for it. So we're already lining up the cast.
Perfect. You have to, just in case, when they come knocking, you want to provide some, a few little suggestions.
Oh yes, your casting suggestions. I want to hear.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's see. So this is from a high school classmate, Jan. I hope it's okay that I put your name out there because you put your name out here. What book do you think all high school students should read?
What book do I think all... Hi, Senora Sands. So nice to see you. Thank you for coming. She's currently reading my book in Spanish, so thank you for that.
Wonderful.
You know who else is on right now?
Mrs. Buck.
Buck Sensei.
Buck
My
Sensei.
high school Spanish and Japanese teachers are on, and I love you both. Happy Mother's Day to both of you.
Mother's
It means
Day.
so much that you tuned in today. We saw you. So what book should every high school student read? My life-changing book in high school was The Sound and the Fury by William Faulkner. And I don't know if that's a good suggestion. And in fact, I was so unsure if it's a good suggestion that a colleague of mine who's also an editor and a writer, we've put together a Faulkner book club, and we're rereading The Sound and the Fury for June 15th of this year. We're going to talk about it. And he's actually a university teacher now. So he's going to have so I'll get back to you on June 15th to tell you if that's my suggestion.
Love it.
Yeah, but other than that, what should every high school student read?
There's so many, right? I mean, it's hard.
There are so many. I have to say that a book that I fell in love with, this is a modern book, so it wasn't out when I was in high school, but that addresses the immigrant experience and the notion of what it means to be American, and it tackles issues like racism and identity, but it's all with so much humor that it makes it just delightful to read, is Americana by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. It is, so it's Americana with an H at the end. It's fantastic. It is just an immersive reading experience, beautifully written, a love story. It's about a Nigerian woman who emigrates to the United States, and a love story that kind of follows her from Nigeria to America and back again, and trying to figure out, is she more Nigerian or American? And it's terrific. It's so good. I love it. Oh, well, yeah, you should read Americana. I think you would really like it.
All right.
You sold it to your mom, you sold it to me. We're gonna sell it to the world. Getting recommendations from Juliet Grames is like, if you tuned in for no other reason, you're welcome. That's all I have to say. Welcome. All right, let's do one last, I think I have one last one. Sorry, thanks for bearing with me because I'm reading as well. So somebody left a comment, and I wonder if it's somebody that you already talked about, but the comment says, I loved this book. It resonated with me so much because my husband is Italian. His mother is 98, and her inseparable sister, Concetta, Tina, just passed away 6 days shy of her 100th birthday. Stella and her family was just like our Formato Fidanzato family. Sorry if I said that wrong. And I thank you for writing this. Is that who you guys were talking about?
Oh, thank you.
Oh, so there's somebody else on. And we opened up the chat box, everybody, if you want to chat now to all. But I just thought that was such a lovely comment.
Thank you so much for sharing. The book is so personal, and whenever people find a connection with it that reminds them resonantly with their own family or experience, it means so much, because it means, that this was bigger than a selfish endeavor. And I just thank you.
Yeah. So we're going to wrap our, formal little conversation here. We want to say thank you to everybody for joining us on Mother's Day. And most importantly, thank you so much, Juliet and Linda, both of you, for taking the time to do this today. I think it's very meaningful, as you said, to a lot of people for a lot of reasons. Your book is beautiful, and I want to bring it back to that because that's why we're here, and that's my job. But what you said about Mother's Day being a state of mind and everyone having, a different relationship with their mom, or, the women in their lives, their everything, being a mom, not being a mom, being male or female, your comment at the beginning just stuck with me this whole time. And I think that's what I want to close with, is just that motherhood is a state of mind, family is a state of mind, and it's so important. And your book beautifully represents, a real family, but in such a wonderful, beautiful way. So thank you